Cirque du Freak, A Living Nightmare. Chapter 3. This will have my commentary throughout the chapter. Steve persuaded Mr. Dalton to let him keep the flyer. He said he wanted it for his bedroom wall. Mr. Dalton wasn't going to give it to him but then changed his mind. He cut off the address at the bottom before handing it over. That was a good idea. Today, the boys can just look up the address on the internet. I would look it up on my phone. After school, the four of us, me, Steve, Alan Morris, and Tommy Jones met outside and studied the glossy flyer. It's got to be a fake, I said. Why? Alan asked. They don't allow freak shows anymore, I told him. Wolfmen and Snake Boys were outlawed years ago. Mr. Dalton said so. It's not a fake, Alan insisted. Where'd you get it? Tommy asked. I stole it, Alan said softly. It belongs to my big brother. Alan's big brother was Tony Morris, who used to be the school's biggest bully until he got thrown out. He's huge, mean, and ugly. You stole from Tony? I gasped. Have you got a death wish? He won't know it was me, Alan said. He had it in a pair of pants that my mother threw in the washing machine. I stuck a blank piece of paper in when I took this out. He'll think the ink got washed off. Paper just gets destroyed when it goes through the washing machine. The ink just doesn't wash off while leaving the paper still usable. Smart, Steve said. Where did Tony get it? I asked. There was a guy passing them out in an alley, Alan said. One of the circus performers, a Mr. Krebsley. The one with the spider? Tommy asked. Yeah, Alan answered, only he didn't have the spider with him. It was night and Tony was on his way back from a bar. Tony's not old enough to get served in bars, but hangs around with older guys who buy drinks for him. Mr. Krebsley handed the paper to Tony and told him they're a traveling freak show who put on secret performances in towns and cities across the world. He said you had to have a flyer to buy tickets and they only give them to people they trust. You're not supposed to tell anyone else about the show. No one would run a business like this. A freak show would get the required permits in each town and city. Then, it would run advertising in the local radio, TV, and billboards. It would try to sell the tickets to everyone beforehand. I want to think that the kids are pretty stupid and thought that Mr. Krebsley said all of that. Or I want Alan to be making the whole story up. A business couldn't make a profit just by doing secret performances and selling tickets who only had the flyers. It could be a non-profit where it has other ways to make money. If it's a non-profit, the show needs to be educational, teaching people about birth defects, genetic diseases, and disabilities. It needs to teach about how accommodations can make a difference for people with disabilities. However, back in the 1800s and early 1900s, performers were not treated humanely. I only found out because Tony was in high spirits the way he gets when he drinks and couldn't keep his mouth shut. How much are the tickets? Steve asked. $23 each, Alan said. $23. We all shouted. I'm thinking that $23 is pretty cheap for entertainment. $23 equals almost $35 in 2019. In my area, the cheapest seats for Cirque du Soleil cost $75. I'm thinking that this business is a non-profit. It wouldn't be in business as a for-profit company in America. Nobody's going to pay $23 to see a bunch of freaks. Steve snorted. I would, I said. Me, too, Tommy agreed. And me, Alan added. Sure, Steve said, but we don't have $23 to throw away. So it's academic, isn't it? What does academic mean? Alan asked. Academic means not of practical relevance, of only theoretical interest. I had to look this one up. I only knew the first definition, which is relating to education and scholarship. It means we can't afford the tickets, so it doesn't matter if we would buy them or not, Steve explained. It's easy to say you would buy something if you know you can't. I'd love to go, Tommy said sadly. It sounds great. He studied the picture again. Mr. Dalton didn't think too much of it, Alan said. That's what I mean, Tommy said. If Dalton doesn't like it, it must be super. Anything that adults hate is normally awesome. Are we sure we don't have enough? I asked. Maybe they have discounts for children. I don't think children are allowed in, Alan said, but he told me how much he had anyway. $8.50. I've got $18 exactly, Steve said. I have $10.40, Tommy said. And I have $12.30, I told them. That's more than $49 in all, I said, adding it up in my head. We get our allowance tomorrow. If we pull our. But the tickets are nearly sold out, Alan interrupted. The first show was yesterday. It finishes Tuesday. If we go, it'll have to be tomorrow night or Saturday, because our parents won't let us out any other night. The guy who gave Tony the flyer said the tickets for both those nights were almost gone. We'd have to buy them tonight. Well, so much for that, I said, putting on a brave face. Maybe not, Steve said. My mom keeps a wad of money in a jar at home. I could borrow some and put it back when we get our allowance. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Why would his mom keep a jar of money anyways? I would think it would be full of change. I would think most people don't keep money in jars anyways. You mean steal? I asked. I mean borrow, he snapped. It's only stealing if you don't put it back. What do you say? How would we get the tickets? Tommy asked. It's a school night. We wouldn't be let out. I can sneak out, Steve said. I'll buy them. But Mr. Dalton snipped off the address, I reminded him. How well you know where to go. I memorized it. He grinned. Now, are we gonna stand here all night making up excuses, or are we gonna go for it? If this happened today, the kids would steal debit or credit cards from their parents and buy the tickets online. We looked at each other, then one by one nodded silently. Right, Steve said. We hurry home, grab our money, and meet back here. Tell your parents you forgot a book or something. We'll lump the money together and I'll add the rest from the pot at home. What if you can't steal, borrow, the money? I asked. He shrugged. Then the deal's off. But we won't know unless we try. Now hurry. With that, he sprinted away. Moments later, making up our minds, Tommy, Alan, and I ran to